Don't forget to subscribe to Sapphic Mist Stories for new romantic stories.
That evening, the fog descended upon the small coastal town, thicker and softer than ever before, wrapping the entire world in a gentle, warm white blanket that made everything feel quiet and distant. The old wooden house standing on the hill looked like the only warm beacon of light in the middle of this endless, beautiful haze. Leah Voss stood by the large living room window on the second floor, slowly tracing delicate, invisible patterns on the cold glass with her slender fingertip. She had just finished carefully unpacking all her art supplies, numerous sketchbooks, paints, brushes, and clothes in the farthest room that offered the most beautiful view of the misty sea. And now she simply stood there, watching how the thick fog gracefully danced and swirled around the old street lamps outside. Her long silver platinum hair was loosely tied back, with a few soft strands gently falling around her delicate face, and her large emerald green eyes quietly reflected the warm, soft glow of the lamp. Fog had always been her safe and peaceful place. It hid her from the loud, noisy world and allowed her to breathe freely without any pressure or expectations. But tonight, something felt quietly different, warmer and more tender than usual, as if the mist itself was whispering something important. Downstairs in the kitchen, the comforting and lively sounds of home filled the air: soft, cheerful laughter, the gentle clink of ceramic mugs, and the pleasant, warm hum of voices. Freya Ellis had returned from her flower shop a bit earlier than usual, carrying a large and beautiful bouquet of fresh white lilies as a thoughtful housewarming gift for her new housemates. Her long, honey golden hair cascaded beautifully and softly over her shoulders, catching the warm golden kitchen light, and her bright, sparkling green eyes shone with pure, genuine happiness and warmth. Even when she accidentally dropped one perfect lily onto the wooden floor, she laughed brightly and lightly, quickly picked it up, and called upstairs with her melodic, warm voice. "Leah, sweetie, please come down. I made hot chocolate with cinnamon and marshmallows, and I added a little lavender just the way you like it. You're going to love it, I promise." Riley Knox leaned casually against the kitchen counter with her arms crossed, a small, soft smirk playing on her lips while she watched Freya moving around the kitchen so cheerfully and full of life. Her short, dark bob haircut was slightly messy from the cold wind outside, and her cool, gray-blue eyes carried that familiar and comforting mix of tiredness after a long day and quiet, deep affection. She had spent the entire day taking atmospheric photographs in the thick fog and had only just returned home. "Freya, you're always so full of sunshine and warmth, even when the world outside is completely covered in gray mist. It's kind of scary, but in the best possible way," she said, quietly, her voice low, calm, and incredibly warm. Freya turned around with a soft, radiant smile and gently wrapped her arms around Riley from behind, lovingly resting her chin on her shoulder. "I'm just really happy that we are finally all here together. This old house already feels like a real home to me. Can you feel how warm and welcoming it is, even with all these creaky old walls and floors?" Leah finally descended the old wooden stairs, her steps light, careful, and a little hesitant. She stopped on the last step when she saw Freya hugging Riley so naturally and tenderly. A strange, deep, and warm feeling bloomed inside her chest. Not exactly jealousy, but a quiet longing mixed with soft tenderness and hope. She had always been the quiet observer who preferred to stay in the background, but these two girls had slowly and patiently started to pull her out of her comfortable shell during the past 2 weeks. Freya noticed her right away and beamed with joy, waving her hand enthusiastically. "Leah, come join us. We've been waiting for you." She quickly poured a third mug of hot chocolate and gently slid it across the wooden table toward her. "I made yours exactly the way you like it, with extra lavender and just a touch of vanilla." Riley pulled out the middle chair with a small, encouraging nod. "Sit down. You look like you really need something warm tonight." Leah sat down carefully between the two girls, wrapping her slightly cold hands around the steaming hot mug. For the first time that evening, a real, soft, genuine, and beautiful smile appeared on her lips. Outside the window, the fog grew even denser and thicker, turning the whole world into a quiet, peaceful dream, while inside the kitchen, everything felt incredibly cozy, safe, and full of warmth. The three of them sipped their chocolate slowly and talked for a long time about many different things. Freya shared cheerful and touching stories from her flower shop about how an elderly woman bought a bouquet for her wife of 43 years and cried happy tears right there at the counter. Riley listened with her gentle smirk, occasionally adding her dry but kind and witty comments that made both girls laugh softly and warmly. Leah spoke more quietly than usual about her drawing from earlier that day, describing in detail how she had tried to capture the deep feeling that something truly beautiful and very important was hidden somewhere deep inside the thick, endless haze. Time passed gently and unnoticed. When the old clock quietly struck 11, Freya suddenly reached out and took both Leah's and Riley's hands into her own warm palms. Her touch was incredibly gentle, caring, and full of quiet emotion. I never thought that living with someone could feel this peaceful, this right, and this warm at the same time. It really feels like the fog brought us here together for a reason. Leah's heart skipped a beat. She looked down at their gently joined hands and felt a strong rush of warmth spreading through her body, a feeling she still couldn't fully name. Riley gently squeezed Freya's fingers tighter and replied in her low, steady, and reassuring voice. Yeah, me neither, but right now, sitting here with both of you in this old house, surrounded by this thick fog, it feels exactly like the place where I'm truly supposed to be. They stayed together in the kitchen much longer than planned, talking softly and comfortably as the fog outside the windows became heavier, thicker, and more mysterious. Something new, incredibly tender, and truly beautiful was slowly, carefully, and naturally awakening between the three of them. Later that night, when everyone went to their rooms, Leah returned to hers and stood by the window for a very long time. She drew 3 intertwined lines on the foggy glass with her finger and whispered almost soundlessly to herself, "Maybe, just maybe, this time I really don't have to hide anymore." Freya carefully placed one perfect white lily in a small glass vase on our windowsill and smiled warmly while watching the mist gently swirl and dance outside. Riley went down to the basement, turned on her small, soft lamp, and took several quiet photos of the empty kitchen table with the 3 half-empty mugs still standing there. She stared at the picture for a long, thoughtful moment before captioning it with just one single word: home. For the first time in many years, that simple word felt completely real and true, for all three of them. The night continued its quiet, peaceful flow in the foggy coastal town, and inside the old wooden house on the hill, 3 hearts had already begun to slowly, carefully, and beautifully intertwine with one another. None of them knew yet how deep, meaningful, and life-changing this connection would eventually become, but each of them already felt in their own quiet and tender way that they had found something truly precious and warm, hidden deep inside the mist.